Hey everyone, welcome to Rugged Outdoors Guide. My name is Pete Stack. This is my channel, and today we're talking about double blade paddles, specifically one that I bought. And by the way, yes, it is a kayak paddle, but when you're double blading a canoe, you don't call it a kayak paddle. It is double blade. Just remember that. You'll get in trouble in some circles. All right, so I'm relatively new to this whole double blading a canoe. I've been canoeing for 40 years. Whoa, I'm gonna run into the shore here. I've been canoeing for 40 years and I've never ever used a double blade for any serious trips. In fact, I'm not even sure I've ever used it at all, even for 5 minutes. Guys, stick around. I will give you some tips and tricks that are meant mostly for those who are fairly new to this. If you've been doing this for years and years, then you've got things you can teach me, that's for sure. But I'm just gonna kind of give my little insights on this whole thing to people who are new to this. And I'm also gonna give you a review on this particular paddle, which is called a Pelican Angler. All right, so let's see if it's worth the money. Maybe I should have got another one, maybe not. All right, let's explore right now. Okay, so here I am on a quiet section of the Magnetawan River in northern Ontario, Canada. It's a beautiful day. It's the first day of October and colors are just starting to change, and it's not very cold at all. There's no bugs. This is the time to be up here, I'll tell you that. Okay, what do I have here? Well, all right, so here's the first thing. You see that right there? That says Pelican. I gotta tell you, even though I'm not a lifelong kayaker, I happen to know that Pelican is not exactly a super high-end name brand. Pelican is the company that actually took over from Coleman when they stopped making plastic canoes. And here up in Canada, there's a store that would sell tons and tons of Pelican canoes for like really low-end stuff, like, I don't know, $500 or $600. And that is Canadian Tire. And by the way, $500 or $600 in Canada is more like $375 for you guys in the US. So these are not really high-end canoes. They were all Coleman, and then all of a sudden Coleman stopped making their canoes, and what should come to take their place but Pelican canoes. So they're the same idea, same concept. So when I saw this Pelican paddle, I wasn't really thrilled, but I've been watching a few videos of people who have been traveling extensively with a tandem canoe and a double blade paddle, and that's exactly what I have. So I thought, well, let's do this. So I started looking for one to buy, and do you know that I couldn't find any really long ones? Most of them are like 90 something inches long, and 90 something inches long is not great if you have a beam on your canoe at the widest part of like 33 to 35 inches. You want as long a paddle as you can get. And so, do you know, I looked everywhere on Amazon and beyond, even at manufacturers' websites, some of the higher end brands, and I could not find anything that was over 100 inches, except guess what? The Pelican Angler. It's 102.3 inches long. Most of them are just way, way shorter. And the ones that are fairly long, that are within a few inches of this, are like $600. All right, this one was not. This one was like 140 something. I'll get into that in a bit. So it seemed to be a great deal. So I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. Now, the one thing I didn't want, and I suggest you do not get, is if you're thinking of a double blade, do not get aluminum. Aluminum is low end, it's heavy, and it's cold. And when you're doing this all day long, you're holding the paddle up, basically. The paddle is not helping you paddle in terms of being buoyant. Now, a single blade wood paddle will kind of pop up when you bring it down into the water and kind of pop it up like this to do your next stroke. The buoyancy in the water, oh, hey guys, 3 Canada geese here interrupting my video, but I'm okay with that interruption. The paddle will kind of pop up a bit, and there's a real level of buoyancy there, but not so much with a kayak paddle. And so you want the lightest one you can possibly get. Now this one I wanted as long as possible because some paddlers that I respect, and I've seen their videos online, they say get as long a paddle as you possibly can get. And so that is what I did, and I couldn't even find one any longer. It's 260 centimeters if you're in Canada, 102.3 inches if you're American. It's ideal for taller paddlers over 6 feet tall. And really, canoes that are like 33, 34 inches and beyond, it's good. If it's any wider than about 35 inches, it's just going to be hard to paddle double-bladed anyway. So it is a two-piece fiberglass shaft. And the one thing I like about it is that the fiberglass is done so that it looks like carbon. Oh yeah, you want carbon. Carbon is ideal, but you'd still need it to be long and relatively affordable. I'm not willing to pay $600-700 for a carbon shaft paddle. It's just not really worth it for me personally. Maybe for you, that's great. If you can get it, then please do, because it's really, really light, and you'll be thankful for that. So this is a two-piece fiberglass shaft, and the blades themselves are reinforced nylon. So they're called FRN. This is a short form for fiberglass reinforced nylon. And this particular model, the Angler Catch, it comes in only the olive green camo, it's called. So I don't really care. It works for me. It's lighter and stronger than polypropylene. These blades that I've been talking about, the FRN, most of them are plastic, polypropylene. These are stronger, so it's a better deal. And it's got some unique features, but before I continue, I'm kind of drifting into shore here. Give me a sec. Okay, so where were we? These blades are stronger than the regular plastic blades, and they have some really unique features. First of all, on the bottom of the blade is a drip, L-shaped water diversion drip diverter or something like that. All right, I couldn't figure out what it was at first, but when water comes down the blade, it tends to drip off of this, and it minimizes the amount of water going down the shaft into your hand and into the canoe itself. There is also, on one of the blades, you'll see a cutout. It looks like a kind of a question mark little thingy here, and that is meant for hook retrieval, and it's a fairly long paddle, so I think it'll reach a lot of your snagged hooks, especially if you fish near shore. And really, it's helpful. It really, really is. I know I do have experience using not only this, I've used it a couple of times, but just hook retrieval systems in general, and it is within, 100 inches or less of the surface of the water. All right, so I'm moving again to a quieter spot. So the other thing I really like about this is that you can see here along the shaft, there are measuring marks. So it's great if you're an angler, you can figure out the length of your fish. Again, it's not something you use constantly, but if you're using it specifically for fishing, you do a lot of that, it's just helpful. You don't have to bring an extra heavy, bulky, measuring tape with you. Like many other paddles, there's a push button system here. So of course it comes apart like this. And then when you put it back together, there are 3 options for changing the angle of your blade. So when you paddle, your wrist turns a certain way, and you can just cause less stress on your wrist by making sure that the blade is optimally angled to go in the water. That's called feathering. And so it has a feathering system there, but it's not infinitely adjustable. There are only 3 adjustments. Just straight across, and then at 65 degrees one way, 65 degrees the other way. In either direction, it works really well, and it's great for ergonomics and also wind resistance reduction. So here's another thing. The brand Pelican is really proud of something they call the ovalization of the shaft. And here's a quote from their website. They say, "This paddle offers a unique ergonomic shaft design called indexing. The right side of the shaft changes from a round shape to a slightly oval shape that tells you where to place your hand. This promotes proper technique and reduces wrist fatigue." Okay, so I don't consider myself completely brain dead, but I'm looking on both sides of the shaft, actually everywhere. I couldn't find any ovalization. And in fact, I even took a wire, wrapped it around it, a fairly sturdy one, wrapped it around the center of the shaft where it's round, and then I gently slid it towards the one end to see if I could detect a change in the shape. Well, in my test, it stayed round or perfectly circular all the way down. And I shouldn't even have to do a test like that, because the whole point is for me to be able to feel it, to know where to keep my hands. So honestly, guys, I don't know, Pelican. I didn't feel a thing. Is it a manufacturing defect on this one? I doubt it. I think maybe I'm either missing something or it just doesn't exist. Okay, so what's the price of this guy? Well, a good carbon paddle that I found, a number of them, are between $400 and even $700 online. This one is Canadian, $142. So what that translates, without me being sarcastic like I often am when I talk about Canadian money versus US money, in the US you're looking at about $95 to $100-ish right now on Amazon. So that is an exceptionally good deal for this paddle, I think. Okay, so the other thing is this paddle is very light. It's 33.2 ounces. It's not the lightest paddle in the world, but it's pretty light for a lower-ish or mid-range paddle, something that doesn't cost you like $800. And of course, like most paddles, these drip rings are adjustable. You just kind of slide them along. And it kind of gives you everything that any other paddle does, only the paddle looks like it's carbon, the blade, or the shaft, so that's kind of a good thing. You can scam people thinking it's carbon. It's light enough for you to use all day long without any sort of issues. And it's not cold on your hands like an aluminum shaft would be. So it is overall, it's pretty cool. I like the fact that it's long. Others, like Pelican makes another one, another paddle called a Symbosia, and it's adjustable. This one's not adjustable, by the way, but the Symbosia is adjustable, 94.5 to 99 inches. Well, that still leaves it quite a bit shorter than this one, even at the longest length. So I really do like the fact that this is long. That's kind of like the big, elephant in the room, I guess, with regards to this particular review, because I need long. I've got a fairly wide canoe. It's not that wide. It's about 33 and a bit inches at the beam where I'm sitting right now. Okay, so I have one really big deal to tell you about. I left it to the end. And here's the rub. Everything else so far sounds nice and idyllic and wonderful, okay? But here's the thing. If you've seen me paddle with this, which you've seen some cutaways of me paddling with this, it drips like crazy. It has those little diversion things that I showed you. Yes, that helps a tiny bit, but overall, look, watch this. I'll do this here. Look at this. Watch what's happening here. Do you see that? It's dripping like crazy. If I showed you the bottom of my canoe, after about 5 minutes of canoeing, the entire bottom of the canoe, from almost literally the bow to the stern, at about this wide, it was wet. And my knees are wet. After 5 minutes of paddling, it's dripping like crazy. So in fairness to Pelican, I don't think it's a Pelican issue. I think it's an overall issue with pretty much every company. And so I think, get away. I think that there are ways that you can mitigate that. And there are videos online that tell you, you can use like tape on there to try to divert the drips. I think the best that I've seen is using wax, or I think there's a product called Never Wet. I think it's in the description below. You'll see it for sure. And these are products that you can put on your blade and a little bit on your shaft, below the drip rings, and that will make the water just bead right off immediately before you get it high enough to, have the water drip into your canoe. You have to do something like that. If you don't, this will be a miserable experience for you canoeing for days and days and days. If 5 minutes made my whole canoe wet on the bottom to the tune of 1 to about 8 inches at the widest of water, I don't mean deep, I mean wide, and deep enough to get your knees all wet, it's gonna practically swamp your canoe after days or an entire day. So it's miserable, and if it's chilly, you're gonna get freezing cold with all the water dripping on your arms and your thighs. It's just terrible. So that's one thing you have to do, pretty much I would say with any paddle, but I've noticed it with this. In fact, I don't even want to do too much more canoeing with this over the next day or so because of that particular issue, and I don't have any wax with me right now. Okay, so what is my overall take on this? Do I like it? Do I not like it? Well, I actually do like it. All right, I'm not like in love with it only because of the drip scenario that I just explained to you, but I do like it. It's a relatively new experience for me to do this, as I mentioned, using double blade for a canoe. But I would love to hear your comments. Have you been doing it for a while? Have you doing it for like 5 years or more? And do you have any tips and tricks that you can throw down in the comments below to help those that check this video out? Please do. I'd love to hear from you. I do like the drip diversion little cutouts, but as I said, they're not foolproof. But I will say that even really expensive paddles don't have them. So you're dealing with even more water than you have to. So the fiberglass, as I mentioned, the shaft looks like carbon, and that's one of the things that I like. I don't know, I guess it's just a vanity thing, but hey, you know, whatever. But it almost feels as light as carbon as well. So I'm really, really happy about that. Thrilled that I got that for $142 Canadian, so you know, $100 American. And here's another really cool thing. I'll finish off with this and say that I have found carbon shafts online that weigh from 24 ounces, which is lighter than this one at 33, but I've seen them weigh over 48 ounces. Carbon shaft paddles. So this, I consider myself pretty lucky to fall right in between those weights, and it's a longer paddle than most of those. So yeah, I kind of feel in a way I got a steal, but in another way I really have to you know, fix this situation with the drips. All right, that's my big thing. All right guys, if you have been helped by a review like this and you want to see more reviews and tips and tricks and trip documentaries, please do give me a like and a subscribe. As you know, it's no skin off your back, but boy does it ever help me. So I would appreciate that. And guys, until the next time I see you, please get out there, enjoy the beauty of God's creation, and keep on looking up.